It's a fascinating story.
No, the question is quite clear. Giving an answer is not so easy. I was left-wing, I am left-wing. I was the kind of person which in my youth used to define myself not only Marxist, but Leninist, even a Maoist. And in those years, we have done so many good things in Italy, end of the 60s, starting of the 70s. And I think we forgot about that. I saw so many friends of mine who decided, when we realized, when I was no more 17 years old, when I became 22, and I realized that Maoism was not good. It's very difficult for everybody to tell yourself, well, something good you have done, although you have done something bad.
Well, that's kind of interesting. How did you realize for yourself that communism was not good in what you were 22, you said?
Well, it was, let's say, it was 74 when I remember a discussion in the usual student assembly, and I was speaking and I was telling my friend, but are we sure of what we are doing, or there is something which is not good? Old words, again, words, and we know that the result of socialism in all Soviet countries were not good. In this book, there is a man who tells me, I've been a member of the Communist Party for all over my life, but I remember when they put me on the bus and we went to visit East Germany, and we went there and we saw how bad was the condition of the worker there. We realized that this was not the right project. Communism is not an answer. Totalitarian is never an answer. But as for them, as for the workers, and for me, I think it's right to go on and try to fight or to work, just to work or to act for a better world, for a world where there is justice.
And I mean, it's very striking that a lot of the characters in the book have this conviction about what ideals they were actually going to follow, what sort of a society they wanted to build. I was very interested when you said that, and kind of documented that when you came back, when they left the old Yugoslavia and went back to Italy, they kept a very historic silence about what they'd been through, and they didn't want to talk about it, they didn't want to kind of admit, as it were, that they were wrong. I found that very kind of challenging even to reconcile with the fact that, which I think you cited somewhere in the book, when they went over, people were talking about looking for consciences. Right? It's almost as though they went looking for consciousness, and when they came back, that disappeared.
Well, consciousness did not disappear. I think they went on to be members of trade unions, even members of the Communist Party. They went on with their life, but it was well clear that something was wrong in the project, and again something was right in their intention. You mentioned the word consciousness. There is a section in the book in which one of them used to tell me what is consciousness in their opinion, using an Italian, a dialect, a word coming from dialect, which is sentimento. It's we call in the English word sentiment, but it's not like that. And he told me, you know, we had el sentimento, and el sentimento is the wish to build up something which is good for everybody, to be committed to a society which is where you share things with your comrades, with the people you are working with.
I guess the other thing I was quite interested by was, and I don't really have a grip on this. This is something I kind of peripherally know about, and maybe Andrea, you can help me help explain this to me. I think there is a role that kind of the political geography of the time had to play in the decision of these workers to actually move to Yugoslavia as well, right? Because in the region that it came from, Julia, I understand that it only became part of Italy following the First World War. And actually, when you visit around the area, and I've been to Trieste, for example, which is not quite Julia, but close. Actually, it's possibly the part of Italy that is most un-Italian, actually. So was there an element of not actually feeling part of Italy itself that motivated this migration?
Yes, this element was in the story, as many other elements. In fact, the story was complicated by this environment. First of all, as you say, a bordering region, Friuli, Venezia, Giulia. In Friuli they speak Italian, in Venezia, Giulia.
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt very quickly to say that the wine that we're having is from Friuli.
Yeah. Salute, cheers from. And Venezia, Giulia is a region which in the centuries has been sometimes with the Austro-Hungarian, sometimes with Italy. After First World War, it was conquered by Italians, and not only Venezia Giulia, even part of the actual Slovenian Croatia, Fiume or Rijeka in Croatian, which is the city where they migrated to the new shipyard, was sometimes Italian, sometimes Slovenian. Many different languages were spoken there. So there was also this thing. Yes, this was also one among the reasons for their migration there. This was also the reason why they decided to fight the fascism Italy from the 20s to World War and during the end of World War. And other things happened around. For instance, they decided to migrate to Yugoslavia, and most of them were members of the Communist Party. And the Communist Party in those days was closely related to Stalin. And Yugoslavia was run by Tito. And Tito, Stalin, had a big argument. They fought against them. Stalin declared Tito an enemy of the communism. And so for them, it was so difficult to be there and even to defend Stalin against the Yugoslavian, being in a far country and defending someone that has told something against Yugoslavia. But my perception is that when you go and talk with them, and remember, these are 2,000 people. When you say 2,000 people, it's 2,000 individuals with their own story. I even have been told by one of them, oh, it was a paradise, women there are so beautiful. I married a woman. I mean, out of 2,000 persons, you have individual stories. But out of individual stories, you can realize there is some common point. And the common point I was interested in was what was moving you to word communist, to word socialist. What were you expecting to find over there? This was my question. Because I think when you ask that question to, to a person who had such a bad experience, and still they are able to tell you, this was my aspiration. Well, this was the real aspiration. I mean, the real desire. I'm sorry for my English.
So it's much better than my Italian. But was there an element of, perhaps they were actually comfortable to talk about it only now, like 60 odd years after the event. And if you asked them maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago, they would not.
You mean something now that will?
No, I said, there was enough passage of time, for these people to have.
I was there in the beginning of this new century. Let's say it was 2002, 2003, and 14 years after the Berlin Wall collapsed, nobody in Italy or in European countries was still thinking to communism. I think I was lucky to be there in the right moment in which they were ready to talk. Because really, when Rino Russian accompanied me to visit his uncle, he told me, it's 50 years I'm trying to get an answer, now I got it. I think time passed by, and time is good for healing your heart around it. And this was a time in which they felt that it was possible to do. Possibly they were at the end of their life, all of them were no more workers, they were 80 years old, 90 years old. It was the right time to tell a story. I was also a foreigner, because I was coming from Milan, I was coming from real Italy. And they all consider themselves, the one who live in the right region. They are different. They are proud to be from Venezia Giulia. They can have an Italian surname, maybe an Italian surname for southern Italy, or a Hungarian surname, or a Slovenian surname. And even recently, during the fashion era, the fascists told them that they needed to change their name. So a Kosulic should become a Kosuli. I mean, the Hungarian, the Austrian name needed to become an Italian name. So they are proud with that. And well, you had this man, I was around 50 years old, coming from Milan and asking them about this far story. I didn't declare I am left-wing, I'm not. I was not a member of any association or any party. I was out of, and I wish to know about them, about the person. Tell me about you. And this was the time to talk. And the words